Good morning, guys. Today is, once again, new bike day. Kind of, sort of. This isn't an entire new bike, but it's something new, and I haven't yet seen this in the flesh, so let's take a gander. It's a little box because this is not a complete new bike, more of an update rather than a whole redesign. Let's pop this open and see what the new Ibis Ripmo V3 looks like. Holy cow. Dude, this thing looks rad. When I saw this color on the internet, I thought it was gonna be very dark and drab, but it looks way more interesting in person than on the internet per se. It's got an organic look to it, but it still is gonna pop a little bit with the vitamin P highlights there. Let's make like Christmas morning and unwrap this little bugger. I'm already looking forward to getting this together and riding it. It's also the first time I've seen the new Ibis logo in person. So I used to work at Ibis Cycles. I graduated college in 2008, and at the end of 2008, I got started working at Ibis with odd jobs in the warehouse, measuring links, unwrapping frames, doing QC work, and then I did sales at Ibis till 2015. From then, continued on racing Ibis bikes, kind of as a sponsored rider, until just a couple years ago when I realized I could ride more than just Ibis bikes. Found a new relationship since then where once in a while, Ibis hooks me up with a bike. Usually I do videos with the bike. So no, I did not buy this myself. This was a gift from Ibis. Thank you very much, Ibis. I can't wait to build this up. I have some older parts I'm gonna throw on here and some newer parts. Be a little bit of a mishmash, but this is gonna be my new daily driver of a mountain bike. And it's probably gonna be kind of like the gold standard that I compare a lot of other bikes to, because I'm so familiar with this platform. So a lot of you guys don't know, but an Ibis is actually a bird. It's a real living animal. The logo, the old logo, was the bird with a vertical oval around it. Kind of hard to figure it out. The new logo is very clearly a bird. So I hope you all understand that. That's the reason why they changed, make it more recognizable from a distance, and it connects to that brand identity a little bit more. An Ibis is like a shoreland bird with a large pecker. Maybe we'll find some Ibis images to put up here. All right, let's do some building. Man, headset press, one of those tools you don't use every day, but when you need it, it's so nice to have on hand. I want to give a big thanks to Jensen USA for supporting this video. Jensen's been a huge part of all my online content for the last few years. Jensen USA is an online retailer for Ibis Cycles here in the United States of America. And they're one of the easiest online sources to use when you're getting a new bike from a company like Ibis. Jensen has a huge inventory, all kinds of Ripmos in stock now. They often run some pretty cool sales this time of the year. And I've got a link to the Ibis Ripmo over at Jensen USA down in my YouTube description just below. When you're over at Jensen, anything you purchase from my link, that'll help support my videos, lets Jensen know that my videos are valuable to all of you, so big thanks for doing your shopping from my link below. Beyond Jensen, I am supported by P&W Components and Industry 9. I'll link to both P&W and Industry 9 at Jensen as well down in the description. All right, let's get back to this build real quick. I gotta find a headset cup. Oh, found one right here. That worked out pretty good. We're still pressing, we're still pressing. Okay, we're pressed. Cool. Everyone got so annoyed seeing my zip tie strategy previous that I got some chemical brushes. Yeah, I spent the $2. You can just use zip ties, old zip tie tails. Rather than putting them in the ocean, you can use them as a tool and recycle them, but everyone was upset that I wasn't just putting them in the ocean. So. They send a little good luck charm with these headsets. It's gold, get that in there. And then hopefully a fork doesn't fall out and I can grab some spacers. All right, I'll probably do 20 mils of spacers under and 10 above. Gripping footage of guy looking for headset spacers. I wonder if this is supposed to come off or stay on. I do not want to have anything dirty on this bike. That would be terrible to have anything dirty on this bike. This bike needs to be clean. If I'm gonna represent Ibis with this thing, they probably want it clean. So I'm gonna try hard to clean it. So I am really stoked at these cranks. These are the ever so elusive Shimano 165 millimeter length. I've been holding onto these for 2 years now, for just this day. Ooh. Gotta be sure to always brush your teeth. Like and share if you get that joke. Better yet, subscribe if you don't think that joke's funny. So if I had put a Ripmo together recently, I would know I should have put my cranks on after I route the derailleur housing. But check this out. Back in the day, you had to go find a zip tie tree and strip it naked of all of its zip ties. In this day and age, you just push the cable really hard into the hole. It pops out. And then, wait, once you get it figured out, you can then menangle it over to the rear hole. And then with some careful aim, you can push it right into the rear hole there, and it goes right through the chainstay. It goes right through the chainstay. Oh, man. Well, Houston, we have a bit of a snag, so we're gonna go the other way. Looks like Mickey Mouse. 2 ears and then a... Is that Minnie or Mickey? One of those dudes, I don't know. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining me. Today is my first ride on this brand spanking new Ibis Ripmo V2S. It's fun to try this bike out on perhaps the nicest day of the whole month of November. Let's get after it. Hello. I often let all of you find some more credible sources for actual specific details about these bikes, like the travel numbers, the wheel sizes, the geometry, and all that. You can easily find that over at, say, Jensen or Ibis's websites, no problem. Now, right now I can let you know the front triangle of the V2S is literally identical to the original carbon V2 Ripmo front triangle. All the differences lie on the swing arm. Sweet. Oh, I can't see anything. First descents on the new Ripmo V2S. The new swing arm features the universal derailleur hanger, which also means a new thru axle. This new thru axle design is, in my opinion, improved over the prior. I did have the prior thru axles get loose on occasion for me, which often meant poor shifting or even a bit of a rattle. The newer, finer thread pitch should take care of that, along with the integrated washer in that whole UDH style of thru axle. Do you guys want a picture?
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. I'll try to get Mount Baker next to you guys. Okay.
We don't care about us.
3, 2, 1, and cheese. Cool, there's 2. Well, have a great Thanksgiving. See you guys. The chain line did change ever so slightly. It's now a 55mm chain line. Does that matter? I don't really think so. Oh, my brakes aren't bedded in yet. I tried my best in the parking lot, but hopefully they bed in quick. Tire clearance is the same as the original carbon Ripmo V2, though the website was edited down to 2.5 max tire size, because if you run a 2.6 size tire on a muddy day, yes, you can scratch the inside of your seat stay and chain stay. So technically with a 2.5, you're less likely to scratch, but if it was me, I would still run a 2.6 and I would just live about my life, because sometimes when you ride mountain bikes in the mud, they will get scratched, and that's okay. Don't fall off that rock. I've ridden a handful of other bikes from other manufacturers this year that have all been really, really good. I want to do a few comparisons between the Ripmo platform and these bikes. Before we get there, I think we should meet up with Riley and do a quick ride with him shooting, just so you can see more what the Ripmo looks like when it's in action. Today was our first day actually filming with the new Ibis Ripmo V2S, but it certainly was not my first day riding this thing. I do have experience on this, enough to talk about it, and I've got experience way too much on the regular Ripmo V2 and the V1 and the AF. So now we have ourselves a little bit of a reason to get together and chit chat. This bike is rad. You probably can't see it in much of our video footage because it is green and dark green, and we are located here in the frosted Pacific Northwest, where it is green shaded by white, and things that are dark green don't pop out that much. So anyhow, I had the time to throw my fork up to the 170 travel position, and over the last few years, I've really come to like the Ripmo platform with a touch longer fork. It helps raise the bottom bracket so I don't catch my pedals quite as much. It also helps slacken it out just a scotch, which is really nice. It's in like the 64 range right now. I should probably measure it at some other point in time. The other day I was riding a local trail and I just was completely awestruck at how easy it was to place this bike exactly where I want on the trail. I know I talked a whole bunch in the Transition Spire review about how easy it was to ride that bike precise, and it is. That's a whole different ball game. That's like a different long travel category of bike. This is a bit shorter travel, and this rides much more compact and tidy than the bigger travel bikes. And I've got, I've been riding the Ripmo chassis since like 2018. So I have so much experience with this setup. that I'm sure some of that is me, and I'm just so accustomed to it, I'm generally able to predict exactly what this bike's gonna do on the trail.
No way. Too slippery.
Pretty nice little puff of snow over here though. Pretty cool.
I really like the overall form factor and layout and geometry. There's a few minor nitpicks I have, but at the end of the day, if I only had one bike, it would probably be a Ripmo. I guess it would be the V2S because that's the newest, but yeah. A Ripmo is an amazing do-it-all mountain bike. Very rarely do I want more. When I have more, I do enjoy it, but then when I have more and I get on the easier trails, I get even more frustrated. The other day I ended up on an easy trail on this bike, had lots and lots and lots of switchbacks. The trail is called Carried Away. I was getting so frustrated and bored, but I would have been extremely upset if I was on a bigger bike and on that same trail. You know, you always end up making some compromises or whatnot, and this is a great do-everything bike. Why are we going back uphill? How are you guys?
Good, how are you?
Good, that trail's so incredibly boring. Yeah.
Well, just like that.
Yeah, I noticed. Winter has been setting in a quick hurry, not a hot hurry by any means. Today, I think the high was 36 degrees. My Camelback hose actually froze today. All the mud is freezing to my pedals and I don't have much traction on my pedals anymore. Yeah, it's cold. We already had snow a week or two ago and we're gonna get some more snow tomorrow. So we're out here today, getting it in while it's still sunny. We hit one of my favorite trails in town and it's kind of poppy and jumpy and flowy. And I haven't yet cracked open this Foxflow X2 rear shock to add a volume reducer. Normally on the Ripmo platform, that's like the first thing I do. I literally haven't had a chance to do that. And it was so wet the last few weeks, I figured just ride it stock. It's been a while since I rode a stock Ripmo shock. And you know, I'm pretty happy with the setup. When it comes to popping jumps, you have enough progression that you can do it. No, it's not the poppiest bike ever, but it's pretty darn good. So I'm looking forward to getting that reducer in there. I'm glad I've tried it totally stock. Some of my little like bump jumps and like small little optional trail hits, it gets airborne just fine with the X2 and the stock amount of volume reducers. So yeah, it's totally fine. Yes, I can improve on it for that. And I think that's something that someone with a riding style like mine will benefit from. And that's like, you know, volume reducer kits like 20 bucks from Jensen's website, for instance. So very easy thing you can do to tune your own bike. If you guys are familiar with my channel, you probably know I do a lot of wheelies and manuals. It's one of my favorite ways to just kind of express myself on the trail and make the trail flow in a unique way. And the Ripmo platform is great for that sort of stuff. Easy to pull up into a wheelie. The chainstay's got a great length to it. The reach measurement's not so big that it's hard to get the front end off the ground.
Wah, wah.
The back end is tidy short, so I can pull it right on up, but it's not too short by any means. Too short is a great wrapper, East Bay. It's just a good neutral platform for that sort of a maneuver. And there's this new trend to do size-specific chainstays. And if you're like super tall, I'm sure that's fantastic. I really like that chainstay length for me at 5'8", and I'm glad I'm not forced to ride something totally different just so that Ibis could happen to have different lengths spec'd out in a catalog somewhere. So if you haven't yet, try that chainstay length. It's good. You might really, really like it. Don't get too caught up about the hype of different chainstay lengths. If you're super tall, maybe look for a bike that has that, but you know, these bikes fit folks up to around 6'4" or so. When it comes to jumping the Ripmo platform, it's pretty neutral. I'm pretty used to it also. So for me, these things jump like it's kind of second nature. I've got an easy time controlling the trajectory. When I go to pump on the takeoff to either go high or if I need to like squeeze out some distance, I have an easy time predicting. It doesn't do anything super weird. It's pretty neutral in terms of how much sag it uses. If a bike uses tons of sag, it can be harder to jump because it's gonna move around a whole lot more on the takeoff. There's one jump I've been wanting to try for a couple years, and because it's so cold out, the ground's so frozen, it's rolling pretty quick. I thought maybe I should try this jump today. So I came in with all the pepper I could muster, yanked, and I did not clear that jump.
No way.
Dude.
It's like summertime, dry conditions. That's a ways. That's like 12 feet.
It didn't hurt as bad as I thought it would. These frames are quite stiff, but if you really push it, they have some forgiveness. So it's quite stiff, exactly where I want it to. And then when you do make a mistake, it's not uncomfortably stiff. So I am thrilled with how good the Ibis layup has gotten the last few years here.
Do you think you'd be able to do it if you put these 6 shades on.
Those are pretty cool.
Found them on the log here, pretty rad. There you go. Pop those bad boys on, see if you can hit that gap.
Those are nice. I only have one pair of sunglasses right now. Do you need more, Riley? You found them?
I'm good.
Oh, they're broken.
Oh no.
They're melted.
Oh.
Well, there's no problem with commitment there. I felt like I committed pretty legit. If I was really like feeling fresher, I think that jump's doable, but it's gonna be really hard. Might need to run clipless pedals, which is dangerous, but yeah, sprint all through this. Pump hard, no ice. I bet by summer 2023, someone jumps from right there into the pocket.
One of my favorite aspects of this bike is how well it corners. I usually tend to dip the bike down and push into it and rock the handlebars a lot back when I'm cornering, and it kind of creates a lot more pump. And this bike responds well to that kind of very active riding. That said, you don't have to do that if you're tired or whatever. If you have a kid and you're running dad life and you never get to sleep, it's not like you have to ride it that way, but it responds well to that kind of active style. We got to one steeper section of trail, and this bike, it's so natural through that stuff. It's slack enough, you can relax and enjoy yourself. It's got enough travel that you've got some forgiveness should you make a bad choice. It's a good setup on the steeper trails. If you're riding really hectic double black diamond steep stuff, you might benefit from a bigger bike, but that's such a small percentage of the trails. I think it'll be helpful to do some comparisons between this Ripmo V2S, the Ripmo V2, the Yeti SB140 on the front of everyone's mind, the Pivot Switchblade, and then maybe we can talk about this compared to the Spire and the Firebird. That's all fine and dandy, but it's about 30 degrees right now, so we're gonna keep moving and get out of the forest. Probably the first thing you're asking is, does this bike feel different than the Ripmo V2 and Bug Zapper Blue that you had on your channel the last few years? Well, in all honesty, no, it doesn't feel any real different on the trail. I really like that old Ripmo V2, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with the prior Ripmo generation. I think it'll continue to be very relevant for many more years to come forward. The V2S is a bit more future-proof with that derailleur hanger, and I do think that thru axle is a nice upgrade. But you know, in full transparency, if you already have a V2, I don't think it makes sense to swap over to a V2S. And this is a good thing. With so many people going to cable routing through headsets and all kinds of weirdness in their bikes, I'm really glad that Ibis stuck with this platform. It works well. The stock Ripmo geometry and the stock Yeti SB140 geometry is almost identical, with the biggest difference being the longer chainstay on the Yeti. I find the Ripmo to feel, for me, a little bit more playful, and I think that's a mix of the shorter chainstay length, which for me, I prefer, and also the stiffer feeling torsionally of the frame itself. With the stiffer frame, I feel more comfortable when I'm landing off kilter and whatnot, and when I'm pumping the bike, I feel like it's a little bit more predictable. That said, the Yeti has a really cool feel where the harder you push it, the faster it likes to go. It's a very different feeling, and I'd say the Yeti honestly feels racier, whereas the Ripmo feels just bigger and almost more enduro-y. Both are great bikes, and they look similar on paper, but they feel quite different on the trail. Let's head 1,000 miles south to the land that is somehow sometimes kind of green as well, but where I test rode the Pivot Switchblade. This bike has two things in common with the Ibis Ripmo. It's green and it has a DW Link suspension. The feel of the Switchblade was quite different than the Ripmo. The Switchblade has a bit steeper of a head tube angle, and it almost feels like it rides a little bit taller, which for the desert area conditions makes sense. I didn't catch that many pedal strikes on the Switchblade when riding all around the Phoenix area, and it makes sense. That bike's designed for that region. Now, I have not yet tried the Switchblade here on my home trails, so I can't really give a perfect comparison of the two bikes, but I have ridden my Ripmo quite a bit in this deserty type environment. Pedaling wise, there's a firmer platform on the Switchblade, which is great if you're looking for maximum efficiency, but I feel like there's a touch less traction on the really loose, steep stuff. Is that a big deal? In my opinion, no, it's not. Being so familiar with the Ripmo platform, I was able to hop on the Switchblade and immediately felt quite comfortable. It's a great bike, has a great carbon layup, and has a lot of cool features to it. Both these bikes make a whole lot of sense. If you have really tight, slow technical riding, the Switchblade might win out, and if you have faster, flowier riding, I think the Ripmo might win out, but you couldn't really go wrong with either one. And while we're still in the desert, let's bring up the Evil Offering. I was riding the Evil Offering V2 quite a bit through 2021. It's also a really good bike, but it feels very different than the Ibis Ripmo. The Ripmo has a pretty firm suspension feeling. It's not necessarily a small bump plush as is the Evil.
Now for me and my riding style, you can see how active my legs are. I'm constantly pushing into the bike. With a design like the Evil, while it is plusher on the initial hits, I actually get the bike deeper into the suspension more often than I'd like with my own inputs. For me, this was a little bit distracting and took some getting used to. I didn't mind much of the geometry of the Evil, but the really steep head tube angle is not as nice as the 64.9 on the Ibis Ripmo V2. Both designs are good and very valid, but I'd say the Ripmo's version of the DW Link is a bit more neutral than Evil's implementation of the Delta Link. The Evil responds better to someone who just wants to kind of have traction all the time and fully plow, whereas the Ripmo can do that and it can deal with more rider input as well. Both are good, but they have a different feel. And finally, no one was probably expecting me to bring this up, but the Orbea Occam on paper has more suspension travel than the Ibis Ripmo. However, it feels so different. With a much steeper head tube angle, shorter wheelbase, it feels a lot more nimble and easier to handle on the flatter, lower angle trails. Once you start getting in the steeper stuff, the Occam does get noticeably more nervous than does the Ripmo. If you have flatter, more technical trails, a bike like the Occam is indeed easier to get through the technical bits compared to a longer, more enduro-based bike like the Ripmo. Ibis is a racing-oriented company, and they're keeping that in mind when they're designing their bikes. The little Occam is much more of a play bike, which can be a good thing, but if you're trying to set PRs and go really fast, you might want something more aggressive like the Ripmo.
Thank you all for joining me for this little chit chat about the V2S. That's a really fun bike, and I'm so stoked that it's here. Big thanks to Ibis for hooking me up with this frame. Thanks to Jensen USA for making this possible. Jensen's a dealer for Ibis. They have Ripmo V2Ss in stock. I'll link to that in the description down below. Sometimes they've got good closeout deals on prior Ibis models as well. And yeah, big shout out to P&W Components and Industry 9. Also thanks to Riley for filming this and helping with some editing. And thanks to all of you for watching. Without anything more, I'll see you guys in the comments down below. Stay warm. Peace, everyone.